Cool. So yeah, we're here tonight to talk about how to get ready to level up your certification or even just to improve your own riding. This was really prompted for me by my realization that my focus had shifted so much from, being a really solid instructor and developing my participant skills that at one point I was like, I haven't progressed my skills in a long time. And like, I'd really, really like to make that happen because I do want to do my level 3 certification this next fall, or sorry, springtime. So yeah, and I knew that I had a ways to go to get there. So definitely, I think some good strategies that will be found in here. And what we're going to talk about is know what you're working towards, some practice strategies, as well as some systems for tracking your progress. And then we're going to just talk a little bit about accountability, because that's kind of the thing that we need to some level or another to make all this happen. So I'm just curious. So Neil, I know you're level 1. Nick, what level instructor are you?
Also level 1, just in April, so recently.
Cool. Excellent. Pretty recent, which is all good. And yes, so I've been a level 2 instructor. I recertified this winter, and I was just jonesing for some more progress. And a big part of that for me was finding like, okay, why do I want to improve? And I think a big part of it for add that more credibility to all of the things that I do in this industry already. And there are always requests for jumping clinics and bunny hops and all that sort of stuff, that I definitely see my next level as being very marketable and can take me a little bit further into this industry. So that's going to be like part of like knowing what you're working towards is determining your motivation for improvement. And whether that's actually to get the certification or if it's just to have more fun on the trails, either way, right? Like our approach towards those goals are going to be very, very similar. So I wanted to start out, since y'all are both level 1, by just going through the ride standards video for the level 2 course, which is like a very quick overview, and I'll be pausing it at times so we can kind of talk about what they're doing and what and how to kind of emulate those moves. So I mean, any questions about the game plan for tonight before we jump to it?
No.
All right, sweet. All right, can y'all see the some prerequisite video page on the BICP? All right, so we'll get it going. I'm gonna turn the sound off for now. Not that the music isn't fun, but we'll be pausing and stuff. So yeah, these are some of the more challenging ones. So the big one, or like the first skill that we teach in the level 2 course, are track stands. And our goal for a track stand is to be able to hold it for 10 seconds with 2 variations. So Bernie, he's one of our instructor trainers. That's him right there. And we'll get another demo from Roxy. So she's got her left foot forward and turning to the right, and Bernie had his right foot forward turning to the left. So yeah, getting two of those variations dialed in for just 10 seconds is the goal. And I found if you can hold a track stand for 10 seconds, you can hold it for just about as long as you want to. I found getting to that 10-second part is a little challenging, but getting past that really kind of comes as you go. So yeah, track stands are the first of the skills. And the next is that basic front. So we've got the basic front wheel lift, which so we got the basic front wheel lift, and then we also have the rear wheel lift, which were kind of combined in this video. And there's a 2x4 on its end right there, because we need to be able to do that over 4 inches. So we can watch Roxy come through. And, she was way higher than that for sure. But, and what you'll notice about how Roxy and Bernie and, our ride standard for the front and rear wheel lift, their bodies are staying pretty neutral over the bike. Let's take another quick peek at that one. There's not huge shifts in the body position to get the wheel off the ground for this particular, or for these 2 skills that are combined here. So yeah, being able to do that over a 4-inch feature consistently is what's required of level 2. Cool. So then the next skill is going to be that level lift, where both wheels are leaving the ground and coming back onto the ground at the same time. And that's a skill that we'll use over, and it needs to be 4 inches high. And that's a skill that we're going to use over the same types of features as the front wheel lift and the rear wheel lift. But the big difference is going to be speed. So that's definitely, a fast jogging, running speed skill. And you'll also notice that Bernie's going to come through in just a second and do another one. But you'll also notice that, body's staying very neutral over the bike. And to very quickly compare this to a bunny hop, these moves are a lot easier to execute for intermediate level riders. Where bunny hops, they can be done at slower speeds. They can be more efficient as you get the technique honed, but it's a lot harder to learn. So that's why the level lift is in the level 2 course and the bunny hop is in level 3. Nice. So we're going to take a step back. So the next skill, I apologize. I forgot the order that these all went in. But so the next skill is going to be the quarter punch front wheel lift, which is a pedal assisted front wheel lift, very often done on technical climbs where we have like a rock or some sort of feature to get over. And the ride standard for that, or the ability you need to be able to demonstrate in order to pass, is doing it up a gradual incline, up a 4-inch feature, and then unweight the rear wheel. So we can watch Roxy and Bernie come through on that. And we'll move on to that one in just a second. But so what you'll see on, what I like about this one, the quarter punch front wheel lift, I want you to pay attention to their body position and what happens with their upper body as they come through, and think about how that is compared to our basic front wheel lift in regards to the body position. Did y'all see a little bit more of a shift backwards to help get that front wheel up a little bit higher and a little bit more extension in the arms? That'll get us really well set up so we can kind of move our weight forward as we're unweighting that rear wheel. So that's and the roll down lunge. So the roll down lunge in level 1 we have our basic roll down, which is a very good beginner move, and it's a much more passive move compared to the roll down lunge. It's more responding, like you're responding to the features, and the roll down lunge is more active and you're taking control over the features. So what the main difference is going to be, sorry, I wish I had all these individual clips. But so we're going to pause here. So right there, we're going to see a lunging forward and down of the bike off of a 12-inch feature. This is a skill that, depending on bikes, can be performed, up to like an 18-ish inch feature, and can allow us to clear these features with more speed and intention for those more intermediate level riders. And as Bernie demonstrates this one next, I want you to pay attention to the height of his shoulders as he comes off of the drop. I'm going to see if I can slow this down. Oh, we can.
Whoa,
all right, we're going to try it at 0.5. Let's see how that goes. Low and forward. And his shoulders, we can watch that one again. Sorry about that. And Nick, just a heads up, I had to jump onto my Wi-Fi hotspot because the internet went out here. So if there's Wi-Fi problems, let me know.
Okay.
But yeah, shoulders stayed nice and even as he was coming off of that feature. And that's, to help with balance and stability as we're navigating these larger features, especially at, more jogging speed compared to or fast jogging speed compared to, fast walking speed, somewhere in there. The next skill, and for me in my level 2, this was probably the most challenging of them, and it's the manual front wheel lift. Our goal for this skill at level 2 is to hold it for 5 feet, which is, about one bike length for a lot of bikes out there. And I like to think of this as like the getting over that puddle, or getting in between those rollers. It's not the manual where we're holding it going over rollers or for like 20-foot sections. And what you'll see in Roxy's demo here, and this was a big thing for me when I was working on it, but her heels are going to drop and push forward, getting the rear wheel further underneath her. And for short riders, that is incredibly important. But this is another really fun one to continue to work on. So we'll watch Roxy's demo at half speed. And it's not like a crazy distance. It's very much like, and it's very much like initiating that manual front wheel lift. Like we're barely hitting that balance point before we're intentionally bringing it back down. So that's where that level 2 manual is at. And the next one, oh, Bernie. Yeah. Okay, so advanced cornering. So your keywords for cornering at level 2 or level 1, sorry, were low, lean, look, which is great for, jogging speed type corners. When we move into level 2, we're getting into the much higher speed cornering. So moving towards that fast jogging, running speed type corner. It's still used on the same type of terrain, so wide, flat, sweeping corners. But you'll notice that we're doing it around 180-degree corner, so we're holding that move for a little bit longer, and we're getting a lot more movement from the hips and torso. And so that's going to be moving our hips to counterbalance to the outside of the corner, and then turning our inside knee and our torso towards the exit to help carve around. So we can watch, that looks like Roxy coming through. And right there, looking at that bike body separation and the position of Roxy's hips is much further out than that level 1 cornering. We'll watch Bernie come through as well. And yep, right there, we still had a ton of hips to the outside. And yeah, so, or hips to the outside and, that fast jogging speed type corner.
Hey,
so
just a comment. It's interesting to me to see a tall rider and a short rider, to see that cornering in slow-mo, because I'm realizing that a shorter rider really has to, it's more exaggerated, like where their hips are in relation to the center of center of mass. That's interesting, because he can get away with, because he's got more length, that's more like leverage, that it's like, I would almost think it'd be the other way around. I would think that like a longer guy, his hips end up out here, but no, really for her, it has to be out there where he can just kind of be in this plane. Interesting.
It is super interesting. And on October 5th, Kelly Hazelgrove, who's a level 3 instructor trainer out of Virginia, she's going to be joining me to talk specifically about working with shorter riders. And it's like that sort of stuff, with some skills, shorter riders need to exaggerate different components of that skill in order for it to be successful. And with high-speed cornering, it's that counterbalance and that getting the hips to the outside that becomes really, really important. Yeah,
and
nice.
Then a comment on that, and a question. So on cornering and, positioning the hips through the arc of a turn, when I was in level 1, the level 1 instructor that taught it, I think a couple people in the group were kind of hung up on, and they were like, as they were then practicing the skill, I think that they were like in their head, they were kind of like overthinking hips, and 1 or 2 people even like went into the turn and they put their hips in the wrong direction, and they were just so hung up on like, hey, where do I need to move my hips? And so then like it made me think that like I've heard people kind of explain it or teach it that like you're steering, like that you're kind of steering with your belly button, and that like
Mhm.
think of your belly button like as a laser like line or an eyeball or something like that. But I haven't heard BICP like really teach it in that way. I haven't heard that in the vocabulary, like steering
Yeah.
with your belly button. So I wondered if that was like a conscious thing to not teach it that way or go there, and rather choosing to use the kind of like the position of the hips. So any thoughts on
Well,
that?
and so like so at level 1, right? Like it is that much, it's a pared down version of it. So
Mm-hmm.
when it's introduced in level 2, the counterbalance is, that hip movement to the outside a little bit. And then the twisting motion is where that belly button and that inside knee come into
Mm-hmm.
play a lot more. So at
Yeah.
level 1, the biggest focus for my riders is really like not moving their torso and just
Mm,
using the lean of the bike to make that
gotcha.
corner and just keep your hips and shoulders all in line, because our level 1 riders are doing it at lower speeds,
Yeah.
and so those extra moves aren't quite as necessary to like maintain that traction. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at level 1 it is more basic for sure, but level 2 is where we start going more in depth on that. What extra things can we do with our hips and torso to take corners at higher speeds?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. That's good advice. Cause like, yeah, really, I think the things that I'm doing are really teaching at that level 1, level, and that's where the students are at. So to say less and, to introduce less, not talk about the knees, not talk about the hips, just kind of keep it simple with the lean and then see where that takes them and then build off of that. Yeah.
We just had someone wave in the background.
Yeah.
Um, no, totally. And like and that's how we can kind of create progressions, because even when I'm working like when I'm with the participant working towards coaching to that level 2 high speed corner, I start with the basic cornering and then make sure that's like honed. They've
Mm,
got that good bike body separation, all those keywords are there. And then I'll start to add the additional components.
mm.
So even if I know that I'm working with like a solid rider, I will oftentimes start them at that level 1 cornering and then add to it as I continue. And
Cool.
next week we're going to spend a lot of time working on, or so it's going to be a skill breakdown all about cornering, and we are going to keep it at that level 1 level. But I did spend a chunk of time today with a video camera out in this big field, making errors that we're all going
Mm.
to air detect and correct together, which will be super fun. I'm looking forward to that. And then so that's kind of all of the wheel lifting features in the level 2 curriculum. There is one more skill in there called advanced braking, which is coming to a stop. It's in our emergency stop maneuver, and it's coming to a stop from a running speed with an additional like stomping of the pedals so that we can squish our tires and increase our traction. But so now we know what we're working up towards, and some practice strategies to like get up to there. Watch this video a few more times, and get kind of familiarize yourself with what it's like expected to look like, and set a goal for yourself with how many practice sessions you want to do in a week. My plan is like broken down in weeks, and so my goal is 4 practice sessions per week, and that's not including riding. That's just in the parking lot before a ride, or after a ride before a clinic, just focusing on a few skills. And I like to be pretty intentional and pick out like, okay, today I'm working on my front wheel lifts and rear wheel lifts. That's it. And I'm going to spend 20 minutes doing it, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing. Because I found it's less about that, intensive practice than it is about just consistency and building, like training your brain to be able to go back to the session from the day before and make it happen. And I did also find that when I was doing, like an hour of practicing just manuals, my body was like not happy with me.
Mm.
I've got a lot of additional pain in my shoulders, from like previous injuries and stuff. So there is definitely a point where continuing to practice doesn't benefit us, or continuing to practice on that same day doesn't benefit us a ton. Because I found like my body would eventually just plateau. And then, I would get a little frustrated about it and I'd get a little discouraged. Whereas if we keep those sessions short, we'll be able to feel all little bits of improvement. And then we'll be able to come back to it like the next day or, a couple days later without that, frustration. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I believe, said big changes happen, or I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like big changes happen through a lot of small changes slowly. So that's kind of how I think about my practice as well, is like I'm using these small sessions, short sessions to, just like train my brain to get into the habit of it. And it was this, here in West Virginia, one of our interns, he's a insanely good rider. He's insanely good rider. And when I was getting into trials, he was like, one of my teachers told me to do like practice the skill, or I can't remember what he was referring to, but like practice the skill right before you go to sleep. And do that like a few times, and then you'll sleep on it, and then do it again the next night. And so I did that with a skill called rocking, where your brakes are locked and you're just like rocking back and forth, kind of changing the position of the front and rear wheels. And I did that for 3 days in the course of a week, and my rocking like improved substantially, and my control over it just like took off. And I'm not sure if it's because of the right before bedtime sort of thing, or if it's because of that short, consistent practice. Because when I was getting ready for bed, I mean, it was like 15 minutes before going to bed. But yeah, so play with the timing of your practice sessions. But yeah, I'd say keep them short. I usually do like 20 minutes to a half hour, and then kind of move on. And that could be with like a couple of skills in the same session. And one thing I would definitely recommend too is videotape yourself. Get your camera out, set it up somewhere. I picked up a tripod for like $15, and it just makes it way easier to get appropriate shots, the appropriate angle, opposed to like stacking up my water bottle and leaning it against the water bottle on a log and like all that sort of stuff. So that's been just simplified things so much for me. So get videos of yourself, and typically how I handle that is I just get like I start the video, do like 5 to 10 attempts, and then go back to the video, watch a few. And if there's some good examples, if there's some that looked good, looked like what we saw in the video there, I'll pull those out from my phone and then kind of save them separately, and then just get rid of the big video. But yeah, hold on to those videos, because it helps to see how your body is doing things correctly, and then by reviewing that, we can it's almost, to me, it's easier to perform the skill again after seeing myself do it, compared to seeing someone with different body type perform the skill perfectly. So yeah, with those good ones, save those videos, and we'll talk about where to do them. So I'm gonna, so any questions on the idea of like short, frequent practices? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen once more, and we're gonna go here. So this is the, let me make this a little bit bigger. So this is the document. I just put this one together. I have a separate one that I track all of my own work on, but and I'll drop a link to this in the chat box, so y'all can save a copy of it and use it as you will. And so I've got the list of the skills that we're working on. I've got what my goal for that skill is, which I just included the ride standards for level 2, and then just a week by week kind of update. So I put a reminder in my phone for every Wednesday at 2 p.m. because Wednesday is my typically like longer work day, to update my progress tracking documents. And from there, and you can either do this, on a consistent day of the week, or after your session. I found that that's like a little bit more challenging for me, so I need my phone to remind me. So yeah, make some notes about what you're feeling and what you're seeing in your videos. And then you can refer back to it when you start your next session. And it doesn't have to be incredibly detailed. It's kind of like, especially when, with skills that you know very well, like for example, here in the front and
There's
rear wheel
Daddy.
lifts, those are definitely skills that a lot of people come into or,
I know.
pick up through their
All
riding.
right, see you
And so,
later.
maybe
Tell
focus a
me
little
that
less on
you
those.
so
And then when you
much
feel that you've met your goal, I just noted complete, and then you can continue to practice other skills. That doesn't mean you never focus on those skills again, right? But I would say that once you feel that you've got it complete to the point, in a field, that's when is going to be a really good time to practice like demo worthy skills out on the trail. So instead of doing it, just with your cone set up in the field, take it out onto the trail and think really intentionally about it. And we might have touched on it. Oh, no, no, no. So one thing, like when we're out on the trail, typically, it's not really a time that we can learn new skills because our brain is focused on just, getting through the trail. Like that's our performance zone. And our learning zone is going to be in that field. So when I'm practicing skills, I'll be on like the manuals and some of the other like level three skills. I'm doing it mostly like out in a field with like my basic runway setup or my cone pattern. So then I can add timing elements when that becomes important and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not focused on timing my bunny hop on a consequential feature out on the trail. I'm doing it over a 11-inch cereal box where there's zero consequence. So I can really focus on just the moves instead of trying to improve that skill out on the trail. So yeah, this is a solid document. And then when you have your video that you're confident about, you can, save it in, or I usually use Google Photos. I'm sure Apple has a very similar setup, but in Google Photos, you can just like create a link to a photo or a video and you just copy and paste the link and then you can put it in there and then it's easy to review. So put your best example of that skill in there and then continue to refer back to that after you've had a chance to make sure that video looks pretty similar to the ones in the prerequisite skills videos. So yeah, and if there's a lot of other mountain bike skills outside of these ones, I thought these would just be most helpful for getting to that next level. So yeah, whatever skills you're working on, I know like Ryan Leach, Ryan Leach online coaching, he's got like a 3/4 punch front wheel lift. So these are of course not limited to just BICP taught skills, but you can definitely use these for all of the skills that you come across. And just real quick, let's see. Okay, cool. And so, yeah, I have one of these constructed for the level 3 skills that I'm working on. And the notes that I have on it, some of them, it's like, so for example, one of the level 3 skills is a nose manual with a quarter turn meant for like really tight downhill switchbacks. And so like my notes on that skill are solid on a right-handed switchback, but still definitely need to focus on the left-handed switchback. And then I made note of a couple of this different things that I want to try, like switching my forward foot, for example, or just trying to, simply increase that rotation. But with some skills, like, let's see, what do we got here? I mean, like the advanced braking skill, if I'm having trouble, like if my rear or my wheels are just like skidding like crazy as I come to a stop, and I need to work on that modulation, I'll put in there like practice or do 2 laps of modulation practice, like that one that we learned in level 1 where you grab the front brake and push the bike forward so the rear wheel's off the ground and release that brake and modulate until you can walk forward and keep it off the ground. Like if there's any other exercises that I think will be beneficial, I'll put that in and then reference back to it. But yeah, so this is just a starting document. I know some people are going to want to track things more specifically. So you could go by the day and write your daily progress. But I also know myself, and I don't think that tracking it by the day is likely to set myself up for success, because with these goals, I'm going to stop screen sharing. So with these goals, it is also important to like be aware that we may not always meet those goals, right? Like life is busy and there's a lot of things happening and stuff. So I think it's also important to not put too much pressure on yourself if a day gets missed, because it happens, right? But like giving a, or but that, just because we miss one day isn't a reason that we should just like totally give up on that system. So I think about, y'all know the app Duolingo to learn languages and stuff. It was like a pretty proud moment for me. I had like a 154-day streak on Duolingo, like learning Spanish, and I missed one day, lost my streak, and then it was like 3 months before I started again. And I think it's just because I put so much pressure to maintain that like every single day sort of strategy. And, it helped me learn, but the pressure made me not want to return back to it, or maybe more reluctant to turn back to it. So just keep in mind that we're doing this for ourselves. Like this isn't gonna, like, this improvement isn't necessarily for our participants. So yeah, think really critically about that motivation for improving, and yeah, try to make it about having more fun on your bike for yourself. And because I feel like that's a more likely, for me, that's more likely to lead to success compared to doing it for somebody else. And that may sound a little selfish, but like that's how we improve ourselves, because we really want to. And I think that's the kind of improvement that's really going to stick around. So any questions on the level 2 prep document that I put together? Any thoughts on it? Any changes that y'all would make? What do you think would be more helpful for you guys? You don't have to have an answer, but those are things to think about. Nick, did you have something?
No, just like, I guess I was going to ask, and then we covered it just about videoing yourself. It's like, I don't ever video myself, and I'm not like, just not that into the devices and introducing that, but I can see that like, yeah, how important that is. Because I remember like with level 1, where it's like I might feel like I have a skill, and then in teaching it, a lot of movements have to be very almost robotic or exaggerated to really instruct it and to break down that skill. So I can see how beneficial it'd be to videotape, and then for me to like use that, because it's like if something looks fluid, maybe that's feels good and is effective, but for teaching the skill, it's, I think, more important for it to to break it down. I think it's more effective to be able to see those changes, the difference. And so
Totally.
yeah, to work on getting better in that way.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not like a media person at all. So like the videos that I take are basically for myself. Sometimes they'll go on like social media, but infrequently. And yeah, like it's hard to know what our body is actually doing until we see it. So for example, when we were down in Las Vegas, we were working on berm cornering, and I was getting critiqued as I was practicing berm cornering. And I have always, I've felt confident on berms. Like I've, felt like I've had really good technique and all of that. And after like 2 videos, Shams pulled me over, or maybe it was Paige. One of the two pulled me over, and we're like, watch what happens to your body. And I was like, every single time coming through, I was pushing the bike forward through the berm, putting more weight onto the back wheel instead of the front, which is not a balanced position. And like, it felt good, but it wasn't as stable as it could have been. And I probably wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for them. I mean, them air detecting and correcting it, but being able to see how exaggerated that was through the berms was like an eye opener for me, because I'd felt so good about it for so long. But yeah, so I mean, that's like the benefit of getting videos of yourself. And go for it, Neil.
If you use that with your end consumers much, with using video feedback, or is that hard in a group setting? Maybe more of like a very small group or a one-on-one kind of coaching?
Yeah, so I regularly use videos,
Yeah.
especially when I'm coaching those more more intermediate level skills, like like manuals. I will definitely use them, and the skills where there's a lot of things happening, like the quarter punch front wheel lift. Yeah, I found I use it most for more advanced skills, and it can be like it's definitely something that you want to be aware of how much time you're spending watching those videos. So what I'll do is I won't use the video unless I'm having trouble progressing a person. And then after that, I will go, get the video out, and maybe have like get videos of everybody coming through once, and then go through with everybody like, okay, we're gonna get a drink of water and like watch through these videos, and then like go through with each person one on one. Like, okay, I'm seeing here on this cornering, your inside pedals coming down, which is definitely something we want to avoid. And then go to the next person. But yeah, I appreciate how you're aware of how that can slow things down in a group setting. So you can use too much of it, but if we're creative about how we create the opportunities to show those videos to participants, I think it can be beneficial. I found, especially with skills that I'm very familiar with and have had like a ton of experience air detecting and correcting, like most of the level 1 skills, I don't use it as frequently unless I'm looking to like drive home a point about like where their body is, because there's been a number of times where like when someone moves into the ready position, for example, they sink down and back instead of straight down. And people don't feel that, especially folks who have been, got started riding 30 years ago. That's just how they've been riding this whole time. And so they feel like they're coming straight down. But to be able to show them that on a video can be very impactful for them. And like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I see. I mean, it's just like me with the berm cornering, it can help to drive points home and show that you're seeing things separate from what they're feeling.
Right.
So, yeah. I think at the level 1, cornering is a really good one to use video help on. And I think even the rock dodge can be a good one, because there's a lot of timing things at play, and it's got to be pretty precise to make that skill be nice and fluid. So yeah, I think those are and roll downs are probably the main 3 that I'll use video on. But yeah, just be intentional and be aware of your other participants. As you're talking through the video or getting ready to show them the video, just kind of like poke your head up and see the reaction of the rest of the participants and make sure that they're not, totally detached, or that they're at least, getting ready to ride around or practice a different skill. Yeah, great question, Neil. Did that answer it? Do you have any other thoughts on it?
No, yeah, that answered it. And
Cool.
yeah, I'm gonna grab a tripod.
Mhm.
Yeah. If I do it with my, I have all kinds of stuff for that, but then I never download the footage and do anything with it. And with my cell phone, I tried to film myself in cornering, and I couldn't get the angles. I was trying to prop it up with rocks and stuff like you're saying, and I just couldn't see what I needed to see. So I'm gonna have to get a tripod.
And the one I picked up was like $15, and it seems to work just fine. It's nothing fancy. I mean, it could be fancier. My phone's kind of like blown over a couple of times, but like for the most part, it's not. Yeah, it's pretty basic for sure. But yeah, and the other day I was working on some trials skills, and I had my phone propped up on a rock, and it just tipped over like that onto like one sharp point and just like cracked my screen. So that was also a pretty big like, okay, tripod it is. That's what's happening right now. Cool. And I did drop the Google Doc or the Google Sheets document that we were just looking at into the chat. So you can open that open that, save it as an Excel doc or however you want. Make your changes to it. You can clear all the stuff that I filled in. And then, yeah, use that as a tracking document if you'd like. And if you find ways to make it more effective for yourself, like, let me know, send me a copy of it. I'd love to see it, because this was just it was a brainstorm kind of looking at some fitness tracking type documents. And then I just wanted to simplify it a little bit. So yeah, if you have any improvements, I am all into hearing it. Cool. All right, let's see where
I just tried to open it and it said I didn't have permission, so it asked you for permission.
this is another example of why I teach mountain biking. Can you try it again?
I'm on my iPad because my Wi-Fi is down, so I can't get on my laptop. But
so it should be. So I just changed the access to it. So now anyone with the link should be able to view it.
okay, cool.
Sweet. Awesome. So then, even with like consistent practice, we can plateau. And that's a good time to, get into a coaching session. We are working on, I wish Kurt was here tonight, because we are working on revamping our directory so you can find those level 2 and level 3 coaches based on what state you're in. We're trying to figure that all out on the website right now. But yeah, book a coaching session. So like Neil down in Virginia, find Kelly Hazelgrove on the internet, on Facebook or whatever, and she is like an incredible coach. So if you find yourself plateauing, like reach out to her for sure. And I don't know, the only instructor trainer I know in California is Paige Ramsey, and I think she's around Mammoth, which I don't think is super close to you.
Not super close.
Yeah. But if you are looking to get some like coaching prep, you can request a course from the BICP's website. Under courses, it says like request a course, and you can request a level 2 prep course, or host one of those courses.
Yeah.
And then if we can, we'll get an instructor trainer out there to run that course, which would be really awesome.
Yeah, I know that down here in San Diego, there's someone working right now on just trying to get enough of a head count to commit to, and it's for level 1. And that if we can get the, whatever 4 or 5 is needed, then we'll do a course down here, which would be great, because I don't think there's been a course anywhere close to here in a while, or maybe ever. So yeah.
Nick, I would love to come down to San Diego. So yeah, let's keep me in the loop. That'd be great. Yeah. What's the weather like in late November down there?
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah. And yeah, so the kind of the group that I'm involved with, it's a nonprofit org called Sprockets. And so we have we probably have a dozen instructors who are all BICP level 1 at least. But, as we're growing, that's a need for more certification. So yeah, I mean, just among our group, and then I'm sure plenty of other instructors that want to have some legitimacy would be looking for something. Yeah.
Well, I'll be in Bellingham, Washington, in the beginning of November. So we can throw get something together. I'd be super down to visit California. It's been quite a number of years since I've been down there, so it'd be great.
Cool. Yeah, in fact, I have for our organization, we have a first in a long time get together, like a team meeting in like 2 weeks. So I'll bring that up with them, and yeah, we'll see what we can get going.
And what we could even do too is like I did this when I was up in Anchorage, like we did a level 1 course, and then that was followed by a level 2 prep course.
Cool. Yeah.
So then, even folks who, maybe are ready for level 1 that just took the course could jump in, or, a couple of the folks that have been certified for a little while, if they want to see where they're at and how prepped they are for it, that'd be a great opportunity. So
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so one thing that I did, because I noticed like my riding plateau, I signed up for RLC coaching online, and it's not only does it give you more ideas about, how to improve, but it's also, it's like quite inspiring, to see like all of the skills that are possible on a bike. And then, so yeah, I found that like, not only did it provide me with information on some skills that the BICP doesn't coach, but it also helps to like get me stoked about getting better, like wanting to try these new things. And I think that's a really big deal, is we need to constantly, because inspiration is good, but drive and follow through are more important. So we need to continually build that inspiration component in order to be successful with this. And big part of it for me too is accountability. You know, I like to ride my bike for fun, and sometimes it's hard to set time aside. So my partner's back in Minnesota, and I texted her the other day and was like, can you weekly check in to see how many times I practice my level 3 skills? And she was like, I mean, I could be really annoying about it if you wanted me to. And I was like, no, please don't. But just like once a week, like check in. And that, so like, that's one way that I'm trying to have, or getting some assistance in holding myself accountable, because that feels good to me. And like one of my buddies that I trials ride with here, we'll send videos back and forth to each other about things that we're working on. And it's just a way of like growing together, as well as having someone to, you know, like keep me on track. Like that's important for me. So what have y'all done to stay motivated as you're working towards a goal? Like what strategies do you guys have? Is it like a detailed tracking document, or is it like a reminder in your cell phone, like go practice riding bikes, or how do y'all do it?
It's a good question. Hasn't been.
I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and that's like, I think that we need to think critically about that stuff, because I think it's very important, because if we, you know, we can put together a plan, but if we don't have, you know, some sort of consequence or some sort of, you know, form of accountability, it's a lot less likely to follow through on that. So, you know, I met one person at the National Jamboree for the Boy Scouts a bunch of years ago. He was working on quitting one of his vices, and so all of the money that he saved from eliminating that vice went to buying himself a new mountain bike. Like that's how he made that happen, which I thought was a great solution. So yeah, think about some ways to incentivize, whether it's like when you hone this particular skill, you know, you pick up a new set of gloves, or, you know, something small, or you know, you hone a skill and you get to take a week off, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I actually do have one. It was like, I'm old now. I'm like 40, I just turned 47. And so but it's like, there were a few things that I just like, you know, by the time I was 40, I just said, I don't have the wheelie gene. I can't do wheelies, gave up on that one. And so same with manuals, but then like about 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, well, that's nonsense. I can learn that. And so I was on Wednesday nights, I was going to like the grocery store parking lot and just like, you know, one parking lane at a time, just like progressing in that way. And then I was doing those small goals where like there was this section where it's like, all right, if I can wheelie from here to there, and that was a lofty goal, that like I could go to the pizza place before they close and get a beer. And then like, so there were plenty of nights where I didn't get that beer, but then there were like, you know, fun nights where that was the reward. So doing that, and then the same with manuals. And then also more recently, and yeah, now I can totally wheelie all I want and manual down, whatever. And then more recently with the instruction that I'm doing with kids, I have an after school program running right now. So I've got like 2 assistants with me, and they're both like, one guy's young, like high school age, and another guy's just a really talented rider. And last week after our clinic, we were just kind of packing up and wrapping things up, but we were like kind of wanting to goof around on the bikes. And so it just like organically became this like throwdown of all these parking lot skills. And then we were like doing this like nose pivot to roll out. And so I nailed one just like first try. And then my buddy Ryan like was just like, oh, okay, I got to hit that. And so he did that. And then Emmett was like, and so we kind of decided that like, all right, this is what we're going to do every week. When we wrap up, you know, we want some bike time. And so that would be cool to like make, you know, to incentivize that, like $1 for whoever like throws down the best parking lot skill, or you know, or something. So a challenge.
Well, and I see accountability in that plan as well, right? Because you're riding together, you know, you're all working on skills together. And I don't know, you know, like I think in that context, it would be harder to bail on that practice session than if you were doing it by yourself, which is great. You know, I think that's an awesome strategy for sure.
Yeah, and fun. Just like, and yeah, I think that those parking lot skills, and kind of like as long as I've been riding, just like this idea that like just touch the bike every day, you know, just like
Mhm.
whatever that means, whatever that looks like, if it's riding to the mailbox or, or just, you know, just touch the bike,
Yeah, just
stay in tune. Yeah.
and even like I don't know, so there's been a couple of times, or so most of the time when I'm practicing skills, I don't always have like a park or like a big open field, but yeah, like you said, parking lots are great. When I was in Brown County this past week, getting ready for last week's talk about curriculum development, um, I had like a half hour where I was like, well, all my stuff is ready for the talk, and like I'm not going to jump into anything else. So then I just like played on my bike in the library at the library parking lot and just like practiced some, nose manual quarter turns and some bunny hops and stuff. And like even that just quick contact is huge. And you know, getting home from work, pulling into the garage or whatever, you can practice a track stand in pretty much whatever clothing. You don't have to
Mhm.
change. So just like spend 5 minutes like working on that track stand or those balancing skills, and yeah, take advantage of those like small times when you can. And I found like since I've been pushing myself to practice more regularly, I found that it's easier to make each time it's easier to make it happen. And it is kind of like I've got to take the bike out of the back of my van and put my wheel on, and I always wear flip-flops, so I have to, change footwear and stuff. But each time it's like I feel that progress and that desire to continue to improve. Like it doesn't feel as forced as when we're just getting it going. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, I think I think just it does take a bit of drive and push to make it start happening. But I found, yeah, the more like the more of a habit it becomes, the easier it is to keep it going. But I am on day 2 without practicing any level 3 skills. So tomorrow I'm jumping back on for sure. For sure.
I know for me, one thing, so I could definitely be more intentional. I think a lot of times I let the setting I'm in kind of dictate what I'm working on because I don't have like the perfect area to do everything in. But one of the
Mhm.
big things for me is consistency. So I will set goals for myself, especially if I'm looking at like manuals or wheelies, like you were talking about, Nick. Like, all right, I can hit this right now 2 out of 10 times. Like, I want to bump that up to 5 out of 10. Like, all right, now I want it 7 out of 10. Like, and I'll do small sessions, like you were saying, like just 20 minutes at the beginning, 20, 30 minutes, the beginning or end of a ride of like intentional practice. Yeah, I'll look at the consistency a lot too, because I'm also a shooter. That's something people always say in the shooting community. It's like, all right, yeah, anybody can get lucky once, but can you do that 5 times in a row? Like,
Totally.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that, I thank you for bringing up that like tracking of consistency, because like that's something in my level 3 doc, or in my personal prep document. It's like, gotten it a few times, but not
Mhm.
consistent. Like notes about that I think are really important, because when we're testing for that, next level of certification, consistency is a big deal, right? It takes more than one successful high-speed corner to be able to pass level 2, or more than one manual to pass level 2 and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think dropping that into the whatever tracking document you end up using, if that is something that's going to work for you guys, I think that'd be a great solution. And because by 10 attempts of a manual, I'm probably feeling it, and it'd be really easy to go back to that video like, oh, that didn't make the minimum ride standard, but those 3 did, and then 2 didn't, and then the last 2 did. So then we're
Mhm.
bumping up that consistency. So yeah, I think yeah, videos and being able to look back on where you were and what you need to continue to work on, I think is what will work the best for me. And I'm curious to see what happens with as y'all start to like continue to take more intentional steps towards honing these skills. Yeah, awesome. Well, so any other well, I mean, so that's the information that I have for the night. I definitely yeah, I'm excited to see if y'all come up with any adaptations to the tracking documents, or any other strategies for continuing to build that accountability and inspiration to improve your riding. And yeah, so just to kind of to review what we've touched on, know what you're working towards and where your motivation is coming from. Some strategies for practicing, you know, those nice short sessions, and then an ability to track or you know, somehow document our progress, and then find ways to keep yourself accountable. Those are kind of the big bullet points. Do y'all have any other thoughts, any other questions or anything?
I was gonna say for my BMX days, like it sounds like if you have a good crew of people who are kind of on your skill level, which it sounds like you have, Nick. I unfortunately need to make some more friends. But we used to play games of bike all the time. I'm sure y'all know about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's an awesome challenger skill. And sometimes it's just like little, I don't know, kind of stupid stuff you never think of, but like it's a good way to push you out of your normal tricks and your normal things that you want to do. And it's super fun. So
yeah. Well, and you know, it's like, even, I mean, you said it was like, you know, kind of, it could be some stupid stuff, but it's all stupid stuff that's going to challenge you and
right.
force you to like hone your balance and stability and everything. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's I don't think there's a lack of value in doing, you know, goofy things on bikes. I think there's plenty to be said for that. Because I found like, and this kind of like really dawned on me. I was doing some whitewater paddling and this spring, and it wasn't until I started being like playful in the boat that I started to have fun and improve. Like when I was tense and just super focused on, you know, the what I interpreted as the correct line, I was like a little more stressed about it, and like didn't have as much fun on the water. But when I was like, yeah, let's kind of, you know, like see what happens in this wave, you know, it's the same thing on our bikes. Like if we can be playful with it, we're going to learn more about our riding and new skills and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think playfulness is like so important when it comes to progression.
Yeah, much better than stupid stuff. Playful fun.
Playful.
Yeah.
And just a thought on that too. You know, what some of the guys that I ride with were, you know, they got like crazy skills. They'll do like a little something, and it's like that's the stuff where like that you see and you're just like, wow, that's impressive, you know, and that's like what motivates you to do something, you know, to practice and learn something yourself. And then with teaching kids, it's like we you know, within the instruction, it's not like we're going to teach kids some like tricky wheelie or like like a nose pivot or something, but like, so that's not like in the curriculum, but like in the little in between things, like a little transition from this to that, like, you know, some of our instructors will do something, and it's just like the kids see it and they go, whoa, like their minds are blown. They think it's super cool, and it makes it, you know, it's just like energizes the kids and gets them stoked, and it shows them that like, hey, this instructor, this like old man, he actually has some game, and like it's pretty cool, you know. So yeah, I think it's like motivation for me to like, you know, have all those parking lot skills and, you know, be sharp, and that, you know, kind of given the moment, it's like to show something, and, you know, it does get people excited, and it's not just showing off. It's not like, you know, ego. It's just like, it just kind of gets someone inspired or excited about, you know, like riding. Yeah. And so it's like while you're drilling, like, you know, an afternoon of cornering and ruck dodge and stuff, it's just like, you know, that might get kind of get old or mundane to, you know, a certain student, but they see something cool, just a little glimpse, it's like then they're
they start thinking about what they could do. Like no, I think that's great. I think there's definitely times for that in clinics. It's funny when so like the trials park that's here at the Arrowhead Bike Farm, it's right next to the like beer garden, and so, you know, there'll be kids around and stuff, and we'll be like sitting talking about what we want to do on the skill, and they're just like obviously watching and like waiting for us. And it's always fun to like, do you want to see something fun, to the kid, and then just like hop on the rear wheel a few times, and then their mind is blown, and then they're like, or it happened today, like there was a kid on a Strider bike cruising around the pump track, and one of the guys that works here was he jumped up onto a picnic table on his trials bike, and the kid was just like, the kid was like 4 or 5, and he was like, that guy has his bike on a picnic table. And he was just like, it was, I don't know, it was so fun to see like that awe. And it was, really great to, because you can see that inspiration hit, and it's like, it's great to make that happen for kids. But I love it when it happens, for adults as well, because that
Mhm.
is so big.
Mhm.
I feel like adults might be a little bit harder to inspire from like simple things like that. I think some adults, in our talk about working with adults, we talked about the beginner's mind and how that, the beginner's mind, there's tons and tons of options what you can do. And I think about kids very often, with the beginner's mind. So like a kid sees, a cool like nose manual quarter turn or something like that, and they're like, ooh, I want to try that. But an adult sees it and they're like, oh, that's not something I can do.
Mhm.
And so yeah, kind of coaching or getting them back into that beginner's mind thing is the key for inspiration, I feel.
Mhm.
Sweet. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, we can wrap it up for the night. But yeah, again, next week we're talking about cornering, and I've got I'm putting together a video of a bunch of errors, some tricky ones, some common ones that we see in level 1 cornering, and then we'll talk through that whole skill in depth and work on some error detection and correction, because that can be a challenging one to error detect and correct for too. So awesome. Thank you guys so much
All
for
right.
coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Travis. Good to see you, Neil.
Thanks, Travis.
Good to see you guys. Y'all have a good night.
Bye.